Amen.
Amen.
So goodbye to all of the Facebook followers, and we'll see you all next week, and God bless you.
Bye-bye.
Now let me, oh, here's where I can never navigate this screen. So once again, goodbye to Facebook. And now we are on.
That was a quick half an hour. Wow.
It was.
It's always a
Have you-
quick half hour.
There was so much more there that, wow, the confession subject now, I feel it can go so much further too still. There was still so much more.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I agree.
Let me see. I'm looking at Facebook right now. Yeah, I think we're the video. Okay, now Facebook has ended. Remember, it's about 15 or more seconds behind us. And Kathy has departed.
Has she?
Yes.
Yeah. So when is your plane, Susan?
We're leaving here at about 10:15 and it is 8:30.
Oh.
So we're here at about 10:15. We're good. We're good. Have everything packed yesterday, so we're good.
All right. Good. Good.
That was such a good session. I really think there was just so much. We just barely touched the surface, I believe. My feeling.
Right.
Yeah,
And
we always
I
do that.
know me personally, like I told Father Tom, even before we started, that I had already gotten a lot out of it just by reading through the materials and stuff that was happened to be there. And I completely agree with Father Tom that we need to examine our conscience before, because I know when I was in high school, just a quick tidbit, there was 3 of us that were going to confession. And I was the first one in, and I came out, and then the others went in, and then, and I'll never forget it, because that was a lesson learned, always be prepared. And that's why I said, you're always afraid you're forgetting something, there's something. So the priest walked out of the confessional and he looked at me and he did this. And I'm looking around, I'm like, what? And the other 2 are sitting there like this. So I walked back in and I knelt down, and that was back when nothing was face to face, right? So the experience of kneeling, and first of all, him calling me back in, and then kneeling down, and then I see the curtain go like this. And he goes, and now I absolve you of all your sins. I was like,
Oh my.
I walked out of there and I was like, you guys, what did you say? But, and again, it was, you know, that was our priest that, you know, I saw every week. I saw him all the time. And you know, so I think it was probably after that when I started going somewhere else.
Yeah,
Wow.
make me
Wow.
go somewhere else.
Yes, it was the same priest that married Dan and I, and a similar event happened when we were going through Marriage Encounter. But but it was that's what I thought of was, yes, you need to really be prepared and think about what you're going to say prior to going in, and stop worrying about what everyone else is saying while they're in there.
Yeah.
That was an interesting thing that priest did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back then, yeah, he just like opened that curtain and I was just there. I froze, you know, and he just said, and now I absolve you of all. And I was thinking, what did I forget? What did I, you know, he didn't even explain. But when I walked out and I saw those 2 looking at me, and I said, oh God, I said, why would you do that? Why would you tell him that?
So you
But
have no
I
idea
really-
what they told him.
Yes.
Oh my.
But I really do enjoy listening to your point of view from the other side, Father. And that's why I enjoyed so much those other priests and their comments
Yeah.
with their perspective on it.
Yeah, Susan's iPad entered the waiting room.
Well, it'll be easier for me to see you guys on the iPad this way, because on my cell phone, I'm only seeing one of you at a time. So this way I thought, let me switch over.
Oh.
Okay,
If that's, if that's y'all. Okay. you're good.
okay. Now we've got both of you,
Okay.
and your iPad is a little skewed.
Well,
There we
upside
go.
down. There you go.
So.
And your
Still,
iPad has a warmer color balance too.
oh, good. Let me shut. Okay, well, I'm still just seeing one at a time, but I'll figure it out. Are you there?
Yeah,
Yep.
there should be a little button in one of the corners that says view. And you may be able to change your view with that.
I think so. Oh, there it is. There we go. I've got all of it now.
Okay.
Okay.
All
This
right.
is-
Yeah.
So when you kept saying about anxiety, I kept thinking my anxiety is, okay, which prayers? Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Trying to remember the, maybe
Yes.
Christ's dialogue is more my anxiety, more so than, not to say I'm pure of all sins, but yeah, there's some things I still won't feel comfortable sharing, but it's more my anxiety of remembering all the steps to
The
confess.
order, yes, myself included. And because it's changed also, at least it's changed from when I was younger, the way we were taught that you go in and do it. And then I remember Alexis, when she was younger, going through her steps, and I'm trying to help her, but and she kept telling me, no, Mom, it's wrong. No, Mom, that's not right. And I was like, what are you talking about? It's not right. I've been doing this for years,
And I think that all
completely different.
produced a great deal of confusion, which, people will come in. When I'm hearing confessions, people will, want to start in all kinds of different ways. I usually try to preempt that. I will first of all greet them, whether it's anonymous or face to face, greet them, and then take the initiative and say, now, what do you wish to bring to the Lord for forgiveness and healing? And I think the best response, or the best confession, is really a response to that question. When you're preparing for confession, I think the best thing is to ask yourself, okay, what does the Lord want me to bring to him for forgiveness and healing? And forgiveness and healing are two sides of the same coin. They're not really separate from each other. And all of our sins come in some way from something that is unhealed inside of us. And we may not even know necessarily what that is, but acknowledging our wrong, I think, will help us to get, and the part of the priest's job is to help us to get in touch with what is it that needs healing and how do we seek healing. And that's not an easy thing.
No.
I feel like I'm immediately stumped. Right after blessed be Father, for I have sinned. And it's like, what do I say next? Like it's always just seems to be this mental block right after I say that.
Yeah. And that mental block goes back to your first confession. And, all of us made our first confessions before we were really, really capable of sinning. And so,
boy, I said
that
a
makes
lot.
sense, actually.
And so, even what those of our generation were taught was we were really taught to make up sins. You know, I disobeyed my mommy and daddy. Well, yeah, every kid disobeys his mommy and daddy. Uh, um, you know, I hesitate to say this because it's kind of cloudy out and I don't want to get struck by lightning, but the very first words, the very first speaking part that Jesus has in the New Testament is in St. Luke's Gospel. His being lost and then found in the temple. And if you look at that objectively, I think the Lord will agree with me. He's being a brat.
Yep. No, seriously.
Now, if
Uh-huh.
any of us talk to our parents that way, we'd be told we need to go to confession.
Absolutely. Jesus had
Well,
a
I
temper.
think there would have been a little more to it than just confession.
Well, there would have been, but you know, and there probably was that Luke may have prudently omitted. But you know, I kind of think, well, you know, if Jesus did it, it's probably not so terribly wrong that we do things like that, even if the motivation might be different in his case. But you know, he was, I don't know, that's something at least to kind of think about and get a little perspective on.
Father Tom, the wedding at Cana, where he looks at his mom and says, "Woman, I'm not ready for that yet." I just crack up thinking every time he's called her woman. I'm like, gosh, how disrespectful
Yeah.
is towards.
Hey, you.
Well, you know, that was a normal way of speaking. By the way, did any of you see The Chosen? That episode on The Chosen?
No,
That is extremely well done. If you haven't run into The Chosen, I'll send you all the link.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's highly available now. And in fact, tonight they're doing the release of the second episode of season 2.
Have you shared on Facebook the link, or have you? I don't recall.
I'm sorry, I may have, I don't know. But it's a project that I've been aware of for quite some time and been following and supporting. The person who plays Jesus is actually a friend of mine from
Oh,
from Good Shepherd Parish.
Oh,
wow.
wow.
He was Jonathan Rumi is his name, and you know, he is a very striking Jesus. He's the best Jesus I've ever seen in the movies or TV. And most of the how would I say, most of the portrayals of the Gospels in the media don't ring true. His does. And it's a series that basically Jesus is there and plays a key and central role, but it's really more about his followers and their personalities. What the beauty of The Chosen is actually that all of the disciples are given distinct personalities that kind of are hinted at from the Gospels, but really unfolded much more in a dramatic way with, you know, certain amount of creative license and imagination, but it's really beautifully done. The first episode of all has to do with the healing and the calling of Mary Magdalene. And it introduces a few of the other characters. Simon Peter is, of course, a hoot, but
We'll have to see it.
the other,
Yeah, I look forward to it.
another very interesting one is Matthew, the tax collector, is really depicted as autistic.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
pretty intentionally depicted as autistic. And that, of course, gives him his skill as a tax collector.
Right, just being more, yeah, I get what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah, focused on
Bob at hand,
yeah,
no sense, not to say there's not some, but more of a
Yeah.
just a mechanical.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, makes sense.
and as the season progresses, I think it's the last episode, maybe the second last, where he is actually called. And it is just a really, really striking scene there where he gives up everything that he has invested himself into, knowing absolutely nothing else, gives that up for something that he has no idea of. But here it is. This is where I need to be. I'll send it to you. Like I said, it's pretty freely available now.
Mhm.
And I think they're getting enough voluntary support from their supporters that they're able to make everything available free on their app.
And Father Tom, you brought up something a couple times, and it's too bad we didn't have a whole hour there with the confession, because I thought you brought up healing, and with the conversation, all I kept thinking all along was forgiveness and healing. I'm a very sensitive individual, so given that the hurt from the offense stays with me, I feel like it stays with me longer than most people, where it's like I can say I forgive, but that hurt, that cut is there longer, and I can try to say yes, I forgive, but I look toward that other person with more of a guardedness, in hoping not to still be re-struck, re-hurt, injuring that wound again. So to try to find full forgiveness when my guard is still up, or my sense of still injury, even though I can say out loud, I forgive you, I love you, but there's this sense of like almost not a danger, but yes, in a sense, a danger of being hurt again. So that little
I'm right
trick.
with you.
Yeah.
It's an awareness that you pick up on right away. And unfortunately, you tend to then put your guard up with many others who haven't hurt you.
But why isn't that okay?
Because then is it not fully forgiving if I'm looking at that person with a bit more like, I want to stay away from you a little bit more, or I don't want to let you in to hurt me again. So I'm gonna, I guess I don't feel it's a full forgiveness, because that doesn't just go back to where it was, which I guess it shouldn't, because those things did change my feelings toward that person or the situation at hand. So I guess it's meant to change it in some way, but I guess I feel that to fully forgive would take you back to where you were, but there isn't.
But to fully forgive requires the other person to seek forgiveness and to seek reconciliation.
And that,
Without that, there is no full forgiveness.
okay, so then there we go. There it is.
So your own forgiveness is really a desire to forgive, and
That explains it.
and that's okay. But it's not going to be fully fully completed without the other person's willingness to say, well, to do two things: to acknowledge the hurt that they've caused, and to say, in some ways, how can I restore what has been lost? How can we restore what has been lost? How can we move along?
Right, but if that other person never wants to come to plate, I'll call it that, come to that discussion, one is just always going to be left with this feeling of an unresolved.
You're going to be left with the unresolved feeling, and it's going to continue to hurt, but it basically that has to be where you leave it. um, uh, to do everything that you can to be open and willing um, uh, to restore a relationship, but a relationship, it takes two. The thought is just occurring to me how tragically sad, how infinitely sad, in a sense, God must feel about those who have unbendingly refused his forgiveness, because he is still offering them forgiveness.
Wow. That's
But hell is unbendingly refusing that forgiveness. It's not it's not that God is wreaking his vengeance on somebody who dies after eating a hamburger on Good Friday. It's it really is.
I hate when I do that too, by the way. Talk about guilt. It's like,
Did you have a hamburger on Good Friday?
well, Dan is the first one to go, well, what did you eat today? And I said, oh, it wasn't a hamburger, but it was meat. And he said, it's Good Friday. And I went, ah, so one more thing I have to write down for confessions.
Oh,
I have a priest right here, Denise. You just confessed it.
Even just the whole, to remember that it's even, I don't remember when I was working, I used to always know it was Friday. But now that I no longer work, every day is the same. So I just forget.
Denise, Alexa and Siri come in handy. I know your daughter's name is, but seriously, Alexa is such a wonderful tool to just say, the good morning, and then they tell you kind of the weather, and they tell you what history thing happened. I love getting that first thing in the morning. Kind of gives and then I'm also one of these people
that's interesting.
Is posting every morning a image on the Claremont site that gives me that what day of the week it is, because I'm saying good morning, Good Friday morning, and the date.
See, I'm so far behind the times, I don't have one, but maybe I just need to get one.
It's very
I can appreciate very much what Susan is saying, but Denise, don't complicate your life further.
It sounds like Father Tom has been listening to how complicated my life truly is.
Well, yeah.
So maybe I just put a reminder on my phone.
That's good too. They're helpful tools. My parents have now, thanks to myself, I've given them the larger Alexa and then the little dot. And my mom has one in her room, and she listens to the prayers on it every morning. And my dad has it reminding him to take the Coumadin. So it's a helpful little tool if you want to use it. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, it's 4 minutes to 9, so maybe we should call it quits. This has been just a delightful little time after our session too, and it's fun talking.
Thank you so much, because I've really been getting much out of this, as I did with the first episodes of Coffee with Father Tom. So.
Last year.
And let's all be thinking about, okay, how sustainable is this format, or should we expand it or something? I know that I got somewhere I got a message, I think, but I can't find it, somewhere from Ray McNamara.
Huh?
You know Ray, Susan?
The name is very familiar, but I do have to confess, I of course share the live feed. Yeah. I asked Mike to bring the iPad over very quietly. I was trying to bring it over. I shared the live feed on something I had not shared before, which has a huge, I think it's over 12,000 people. It's the Italian Catholic something. It's a group that I pop into every so often and have shared things with, but
Italian Catholic Federation?
no, I'll have to look it up. But anyway, I decided to go for it because I have shared masses on that site before. So I decided to send the live feed that way, as along with the St. Matthias, a couple other different groups that I'm a part of. So I thought, let me see what happens if I share it to these Italian people. Boom. So that might be somebody, but that name does sound familiar. I'm not sure.
Ray was one of the musicians at OLA.
Oh, okay, that's
I
why.
think has since thrown in his lot with Holy Name of Mary. And he was kind of inquiring as to you know, how to possibly get in on this.
Oh,
And
Oh.
Joan Giuliano also made a comment. And I'm trying to find her comment on here because
Piano was somebody I thought would be great, and maybe Carol Salter I thought too, but I'm not, wasn't sure.
Carol Salter actually was on Facebook this morning and she says, thank you.
We'd have-
I'm sure I'll be getting a text from her then at some point.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yes,
you know, if we get more than the number that we've got, somebody is going to have to manage this a little bit better, because I don't think, you know, probably 6 people on a screen at one time is about the most that we could.
And I can always step back. I'm always just hoping. I was nervous about this morning. I was nervous to see because Kathleen had never popped in to say for sure if she was going to be on or not. So I wasn't sure if it was just going to be the two of you. So I'm glad you came off the field when you did. Thank you, Denise.
Yeah,
At first I thought I scared everybody off.
No, again, this conversation, even after we do the half an hour finish, it seems to be so fruitful, that which if we would live, I think it would have also touched upon a lot of people's hearts to discuss that we shared as far as being the hurt. And I know we tapped upon some of that before, but not as richly as I feel like we just did.
I mean, maybe depending on how many people there are, we just rotate different weeks, different people, different. And if somebody has a conflict that week, maybe they can swap with somebody from a different week. I know that's what my mom used to make us do with chores.
I'm more than willing to step out at any given time, Father.
Yeah.
well, the problem is, Susan, you haven't stepped in all that often.
Well, given opportunity for you all.
Oh.
No,
I mean, you're kind of, you were kind of the prime mover here, and yet the one who has probably been most consistent in being on has been Marcia.
and Marcia originally last year was so hesitant. Last year when you started the whole thing, and
Yeah,
I was
remember that.
kept on her saying, Marcia, I think you, and she was so shy, and now she's just a good powerhouse of,
Yeah.
I think from what she went through last year and part of this year really was so difficult for her that this was going to be very therapeutic for her to come out and share thoughts and feelings. It's been
When I think of Susan, I think of a fisherman or a fisher lady where, they throw the line out and see who they can reel in. And and she does a pretty good job of that. So
Oh,
she
yeah.
could kind of be you're the marketing director, Susan. Okay, you're the marketing director
yeah.
for this whole gig.
By the way, are you aware that that Rome choir trip was 20 years ago next week?
Oh my gosh.
wow.
Wow. I'll tell you what.
The
that
one
was
who
the
reminds
most
me of that was Terry.
enlightening experience ever.
Yeah.
So Denise, you went on that.
Yes. Alexis was in the choir at the time. I think her and Amanda Manano were the 2 youngest, I think, at the time.
Those kiddos are grown. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what an experience that was. I don't think we could replicate it.
No, I don't think it could be. And yet it, you know, I think it was one of the things that probably, because we were able to pull it out and Donna Marie pulled it off so very well, that may have been one of the things that motivated me to do that on the turkey. But
Hmm.
And I am so sad that we never got to go on one of those because we would have loved to have done that.
and that simply is not possible.
Not anymore,
Yeah,
but I would have loved to have gone with Father Tom too, but in a way, Father Tom, that I went.
Yeah, you had a fantastic one with an Iranian guide too, and a very small group.
Wow.
Yes, it was fabulous. It was yeah, that's something we'll never forget, ever, ever. It's beautiful.
Well, you know, that was my first experience of seeing the real side of a father, of a priest. So I, you know, because you are all put on a pedestal, even if you don't look at it that way, you are, because, and as you should be, you've sacrificed a lot, you've given up a lot, and so we look at you as this, look to you as something very special and something that should be, what's the word I'm looking for?
Reverence.
Yeah, thank you. That's, yes, I was trying to think of a word that fits. So, but at the same token, I've always, again, in growing up in a different time period, right, as a lot of people today, afraid to an extent of a priest, a nun, a sister, you know, all of that. And that trip made me look so much more, look at you as a human, you know, and as somebody you can get close to and not be afraid of. And so I was able to actually, after that point, actually go to confession, kind of circling back. And whether it was with you or Father Paul or Father Tran, or, you know, so that trip, all encompassing, was a very life-changing moment for me.
Good.
And yeah, so you may not know it, but you've for many years have played a very big role in my life, Father. And with all the struggles that I've had, and we talked about that in the past few years, and me really kind of backing away from the church in a lot of ways, it was Susan reeling me in, and then Father Tom, listening to Father Tom on his first coffees with Father Tom and getting back, and that really helped me, that, and knowing that there's only one person that could help me with the past few years, the things that I was going through. So so thank you for that.
Good.
Yeah. And thank you, Susan, for reeling me in.
Before we
You threw me a lifeline, Susan. You just didn't know it.
marvelous.
I believe the Holy Spirit does do a number through me, because I can't take credit for all that compels me to do what I do. Sometimes I question myself, thinking, what am I doing? I honestly give the credit to God, and how he tends to work through me, and what vision he gives me. So, and all I can do, as Father Tom shared with me the other day, throw mud at the wall, throw pasta at the wall, and see what sticks. Yeah, isn't that what
may be the better metaphor. One thing, just realized, Susan, you are about to leave Hawaii.
Yes.
The picture back here. That's,
Yes,
remember Elmer Carvalho?
I think so. Yeah.
He died a good number of years ago, I think. Seth, after he died, Seth Carvalho, his widow, came on the Turkey trip, but I forget which year. But Elmer was an artist who specialized in watercolor, and he's also from Hawaii.
Oh,
So that is a picture of the, the lava meeting the sea, done in a very abstract sort of way.
I can barely make it out, but it's beautiful. And not to change subject, but Denise, Father Tom has been an enormous blessing in my life. And having photographed all the priests through all these many years through Fiesta, I got to know that they were human, I guess, a lot faster.
Ah, yes.
And being involved in many committees and things, I got to have a faster view of that. And it was good. It was where I understand what you're saying, being a Catholic school, 12 years, parochial and all, and you hold them in this pedestal that's just very, way up there. And then you see a temper, you see a criticism, you see something that's not quite godly, and you think, okay, well, they're human. And just like the confession, the priest doing what